Slavery now is worse than it's ever been in history. It's worse than it's ever been in history. How can that be possible?
The prevalent issues of modern slavery is the child labor and then child trafficking, which is dominantly surrounding us within the municipality.
A lot of them will come from the Accra side and they'll be trafficked to the island communities here, and then they'll be there for maybe 1 year to 10 years working as a slave under a master.
We have different forms of trafficking. We have sex trafficking. That is where the victim is trafficked for the purpose of sexual exploitation, and the benefits or the proceeds will go to the perpetrator. We also have labor trafficking, where it could be children, or it could be adults who are also trafficked and are exploited in the form of labor for the benefits of the perpetrators. Whether the victim is a child or adult, when you rescue them, you need to take them to a shelter for them to have access to rehabilitation or rehabilitative services like medical care, like counseling, like psychosocial therapy, and other forms of rehabilitative services.
They were being transported in a car to the Volta region, and then they were intercepted on the road by the Ghana Police Service. So when they were intercepted, the police called on us to seek for shelter for the children. And so through the department and then together with the district court, we were able to seek for care order for the 5 children, and that was granted.
This specific case is a very unique one to us. We received 5 children from Mangwase as a result of a collaboration between the social welfare and the Ghana Police Service. So we were at the shelter here when they were brought in. When they came, we realized that these have been children that, even at home, you could see that they've been engaged in child labor activities. Some could see some traces of wounds and other things on their bodies.
Together with the police investigators on the case, we were at the Just Gun Circuit Court for the case to be prosecuted, which actually prosecution took place, and the perpetrator has been sentenced for 10 years imprisonment. So as we speak now, the perpetrator is currently in the custody of the Ghana Prison Service, serving his term.
They never actually reached that point where they were maltreated and all of those things that could have happened if they were sent to their destination. So thankfully, our police intercepted them on the way. They were on their way going there, and he had the keen eye to see that something was wrong. And why are these 5 boys riding with this one man and they're not his kids? So when they're rescued and they're brought to the shelter, the first thing they do is we have a police write-up on that child. The investigation that was done, we have that police report. Then from there, depending on the health of the child, if they're in a really bad condition, we send them immediately to the hospital. If it's late, they're tired, they just need rest and care first, they'll come to the shelter. Usually within that first week, we have to do an initial screening on how they felt when they came to the shelter and how they've been adjusting. So most of them, within that first week, it's like a turnaround. they'll be really timid and scared and shy and even crying. But then after that first week, they relax, they're playing. Sometimes they'll even be involved with the school. We'll get them involved in the school, or they'll be jumping in, helping with whatever needs to be, like the regular chores and things. So we have a couple of tools that we use to help the child. We have what's called a trauma checklist, and then we have a screening overview, which will take the kids through like every couple of weeks. We'll sit down and ask particular questions that can help them maybe bring them to a place that they're ready to talk about certain things. But with each child, they're all unique. We have sporting activities and we have learning activities. So reading groups, that's another place where she can express. I'm using she as an example, but most of the children at our shelter are boys. We have a majority boys and then a few girls. But if they're also struggling still mentally, and they're also struggling with, their confidence levels and those things, we can still identify those in the reading groups and the learning groups that they have with their friends.
Village of Life's Academy, the shelter has its own education system, and so education started. We gave them starter of education. So quickly, GAU and ActionAid came into our aid, and they supported these 5 children for them to also get the necessary materials that can let them live equally like other brothers living in the shelter. Whatever funds and support they gave was able to keep these children on and on till we are able to put them into such a way that we identify their parents. Normally in this situation, what we do is we begin to do the tracing, but with the help of the Social Welfare Department, based on the social inquiry reports they write, with the police also looking at where they can work up to. And since they have also processed all the issue to the judiciary for their work to be done, these 3 teams put their heads together and we are able to identify the parents. And that's the good work of the standard operation procedure to get the child a living life.
At the time, I think the children had already been withdrawn and then they've been taken to a shelter at the time they called, but they needed support with the feeding and other logistics for the children because the shelter is a private shelter and they also have to get money, to take care of the children themselves as well. The shelter also has a school that they run there for the children, so they had to find ways of sustaining them. And 5 children is a lot of children, so they needed help. So they called me, and then once we had also made a promise that where we could help, we will. So we also quickly called ActionAid.
And what I saw was that the children were handled well here. They were fed, they were taken care of, but I do know that they were also reintegrated back to their families, and all of that was done well. They were given new clothes and bags whenever they went back, and some supplies as well. And so from what I saw on how the boys were handled, they were taken care of from start to finish as they were sent through this organization. And I know that GAU and ActionAid had a lot of work in that, had their hand in that, and I really appreciate it because sometimes we'll get kids here and finding the support for them is a challenge.
I will encourage everyone to look around and to support us because trafficking is real. It can happen to anyone. And so we should rather come together and support the fight against trafficking.
Trafficking is something, it doesn't matter where you're coming from. It doesn't matter your political stance. It doesn't matter your race, anything, your religion. I feel like if you're a morally capable person, you can agree that trafficking is wrong. Taking a child from their family, selling them or exchanging goods for them to some place that they're unfamiliar and using them, exploiting them, it's wrong. And no matter how you unpackage it, it's dangerous for the child. So wherever you are in the world, I guarantee you, if you look, there's going to be a case of some form of trafficking closer even to your home. And so I guess challenge for anyone is to try and take a stand wherever you are. Figure out where the trafficking is happening, if it's happening in your area. And if not, find some organization to get behind that you trust and feel like is trying to make a difference.